What if every day was Remembrance Day? A day we all come together to thank those who stood and stand for our peace, our freedom, the very things that make us Canadian. You see, Canada's veterans never forgot us. So let's remember to never forget them. Learn how at veterans.gc.ca/IRemember.
Our lives have fundamentally changed in more ways than we could count because of the pandemic, and that includes gatherings. So this year, Canadians across this country, and certainly our community here in St. John, will need to commemorate Remembrance Day in different ways. For my part, I wanted to produce this video, not so much as the city manager for the city of St. John, but as a 35-year veteran of the Army who served in Bosnia and Afghanistan, but also quite simply as a proud Canadian who truly recognizes and thanks those who have served and those who continue to serve in our military. I'm standing before you here today at Branch 69 of the Royal Canadian Legion, and their murals that are in my background speak to the incredible work that our men and women in uniform have done over the years. So let's start with some numbers. Since Confederation, since we stood up as a nation, 267 killed in the South African War, 67,000 in World War I, 45,000 in World War II, 516 in Korea, 20 in Bosnia, 158 in Afghanistan, and well over 1,000 others in various international peacekeeping missions and training support missions. In total, 118,000 Canadians have given their lives for their country. Another 250,000 have been injured, many of those life-altering injuries. It's difficult to imagine. The numbers are hard to relate to because they're so large. It's difficult to put it in context. So for the next few minutes, let's not even try. Instead of focusing on the many, let's focus on one. And I'd like to tell you the story of one soldier, Colonel Jeff Parker. Jeff was an infantry officer. He commanded a battalion, the 2nd Battalion of the Royal Canadian Regiment, just up the road here in Gagetown, New Brunswick. During his time in command, his unit was not scheduled to go to Afghanistan, so he would not deploy. But many of his subunits did deploy, and all sorts of individual reinforcements went as well. Jeff's job was simple: train them, get them ready, make them physically and mentally prepared, and of course, care for their families while they were gone. In total, he sent hundreds of soldiers into harm's way. He had the pleasure of welcoming most of them back home safe and sound. He had the responsibility and the onerous burden of welcoming home those who had been wounded and repatriating home the bodies of those who had been killed in action. Jeff left his command in Gagetown, New Brunswick, and came and worked for me in Toronto. He was placed in a premier position. He was responsible for the coordination of all Army operations and training for all of Ontario. It was a fabulous job. It was a stepping stone to bigger and better things. It was career enhancing. He was going to get promoted out of it. And Jeff wanted nothing to do with it. From the moment he arrived, he approached me and asked that I find him a position in Afghanistan. His argument was simple. He had sent so many in harm's way that he could not stand the idea that he would not do the same. But he also believed in the mission. He believed in the fundamental principle of going out and helping those who could not help themselves. His beliefs speak to the character of the man. As circumstance would have it, sometime later, an opportunity did present itself. There was a position with the U.S. Armed Forces 10 Mountain Division. Colonel Jeff Parker was promoted to the rank of full colonel and deployed as their chief planning officer for all military planning in central and southern Afghanistan. He couldn't be happier. He was going to serve. He was going to help those who could not help themselves. A couple weeks before he left, we held a bit of a departure party for him, a farewell get-together, and we invited his family. His wife, Mary Jane, MJ, was there, his two very young kids, Alex and Charlie, and his mother, Edna. And they were all incredibly proud of Jeff. And they were so supportive of the decisions and the requests that he had made. But yet in their eye, you could see the concern. The uncertainty of how they would cope as a family while he was gone for the 9 to 12 months, but also the very real fear of the dangers of Afghanistan. Jeff Parker departed about 2 weeks later, and on his second full day in Kabul, he was killed by a massive roadside bomb. He didn't go out in a blaze of glory. He didn't go out taking a hill or breaking through a defensive position. He was actually moving between meetings in a convoy to meet with village elders and community leaders to talk about how they could better deliver humanitarian aid to the locals. He died a hero. He died helping those who could not help themselves. Colonel Jeff Parker was repatriated back to Canada. He was met by thousands of colleagues in the military. He was greeted by tens of thousands of people on the Highway of Heroes, and he was welcomed home by his family, MJ, Alex, Charlie, and his mother, Edna. They were shattered, devastated. Yet in their eye, you could still see that pride that they had in Jeff, and they were still so supportive in their words and in their actions for the decisions that he had made. Colonel Jeff Parker's story is one story. Take it now and multiply it by 118,000 others. Take that and multiply it by 250,000 more who are wounded. And you start to understand the enormity of the sacrifice, the enormity of the devotion, the dedication, and the commitment. I've had the pleasure throughout my career of speaking at many Remembrance Days, and I find myself often reciting a poem. It was a poem written by an American Army officer named Charles M. Province. It was written during the Vietnam War, so it was written in a different era. Some of the words may appear a bit off, but I think the message is right on point. He wrote, "It is the soldier, not the minister, who has given us freedom of religion. It is the soldier, not the reporter, who has given us freedom of press. It is the soldier, not the poet, who has given us freedom of speech. It is the soldier, not the campus organizer, who has given us the freedom to protest. It is the soldier, not the lawyer, who has given us the right to a fair trial. It is the soldier, not the politician, who has given us the right to vote. It is the soldier who salutes the flag, who serves beneath the flag, and whose coffin is draped by the flag, and who allows the protester to burn the flag. We will remember them. We live our lives today because they gave theirs. We enjoy a quality of life because of their service. We will remember them. We'll remember their dedication, their devotion, their self-sacrifice, and the sacrifice of their families, lest we forget. Thank you very much. I appreciate your attention.